up, dude? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to have you out.
Thank you for having me.
Ready to get to work?
Absolutely. Let's try to get a little bit better.
Before we go into anything, let's just have you hit balls before we get into like what you've been working on or anything, and then so we're not thinking about certain mechanics or anything like that. All right. I'll just get this rolling on you.
Okay. Any club in particular?
8 or 7 iron is fine.
8 or 7. No driver? We can't just jump
We're
off?
just not. We're not going to smoke. We're going to do 3 woods off a really short tee.
Okay. All right. Just get warm. Where are we?
That's a good question.
Where are we?
That looks great.
Right? It's good every now and again.
It's been a minute. How long has it been?
It's been, I think, about over a year.
Okay.
So, yeah, we worked on some things and kind of injuries and just kind of recalibrated. And now we feel like we're at a decent spot.
Yeah.
So I think this is just kind of a mental and physical check on one, are we doing the right things that we were talking about?
Right.
And 2, are there leaks that we can address that, 1, feel better, and then 2, kind of result in better play on course?
Yeah. Should like a couple more.
Okay. Yeah, I think last time we were here, the thing that we struggled with was loft and height. So the 8 iron was flying like a 60 degree.
Yeah.
So between sequencing and delivering the right angles, I think that's been the biggest change.
Okay.
And then now just, yeah, are there other things that we can do?
So you have lowered the trajectory?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think the way that I used to play, or that we were playing before, is a lot of knockdown shots.
Yeah.
In order to get the flight right, so less of a release. And now I can swing a little bit more freely.
Yeah.
I can still hit the high ball if I want.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit more consistent, not only with the 8, but also with the other kind of wedge clubs where they're flying at a better consistency.
So you can actually play golf, not just send it up in the air?
A little, a little bit, right?
Okay, so let's just hop right to this.
Okay.
This will be recording, so I'll just screen record it to be safe.
Okay.
So this is, you already had an account on Sportsbox, which is great. So a couple quick things. Most like 3D systems that are looking at a golf swing are kind of looking at it from a standpoint of when is the beginning of the swing. So the beginning of the swing is when the club starts to move, okay, as far as the system is concerned. Now we know that the body is going to propel itself in a direction either up and down or right or left in order for you to get the club to move. That'd be ideal. Some players move the club first to start the swing, and that's not really an ideal situation. I don't see you doing that. So like right off the ball here, I see you kind of shift pressure first, ever so slightly, and you can kind of see that when you do that, see how your pelvis and chest start to create like a negative number right there. It starts going negative, which is to the right. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. We want to see that. The best players in the world kind of do that. The other thing that starts to happen is the pelvis right here where it says lift. It goes from -0 to positive very, very early. So what that's telling me is that you are doing what you should be doing, which is moving pressure ahead of your mass of your body and moving it kind of down and left and up and right. Okay, so that's the first movement that's going on. As you get to club parallel right here, so you're right now like just less than an inch to the right. Now, what's interesting is you're on the high end of rotation. So I have some players that are, they're either ideal or they're not. You're fine. You're just on the high end there. And what I mean by rotation, I mean rotation in a horizontal direction. So you can rotate on a vertical direction and you can work on a horizontal. The vertical would be your bend. See how this pelvis bend is -4?
Mhm.
And then your chest side bend is -28. What's interesting is you're a little high on that left bend. Yeah,
This way?
so left bend going back, you kind of are on the other side of it. It's not that big of a problem, but it makes sense because see how your head is forward about an inch.
So you're saying basically my center, this part is okay, but I'm kind of this way, which moves the noggin
A little bit.
that
yeah,
way.
Yeah. Now, is that really a big issue? I don't know. Like, we're going to see what it kind of plays out. There are players that do that.
Yeah.
So it's not the worst thing in the world. What I would say, just subjectively, what this is kind of saying is that there is a misappropriation on how your trail leg loads. That's what it's telling me. So let's run an assumption here. So if we're looking at rotation, okay, and rotation working in this way, okay, this is what we call frontal plane torque or rotation on a vertical axis versus this, you're a little heavy with this.
Okay.
So what you've done is you put pressure through the trail leg in this direction to move the right hip up, which you did perfectly, okay? So you have 4 degrees of tilt, but because there's not enough loading through that, it's just working vertical, it starts to push this hub a little forward. Okay, so, but like I said, we'll see what happens because you might objectively change that. So at lead arm parallel, plenty of rotation, good load in the trail side. A pretty good build of the left bend. See the pelvis goes to 8. Kind of lose it there and gain it, lose it, gain it. And then you're a little heavy on left bend and your head is forward.
It's basically the same thing. So as I'm loading back here, there's not enough load in the trail. So now I'm just continuing this part, which again moves the head forward. And I think you call it thoracic, right?
Thoracic extension. That would show up over here. We haven't looked at. You're at -1 forward. You're not bad. I mean, this is all pretty good, and you lowered really well.
Okay.
So like you actually lowered your mass down.
Okay.
So you could play good golf from there, and we could just say that's null and void. If you were to make this maybe a little better and a little more repeatable, this is probably more of a gym thing than anything.
Okay.
This is the best place to do it. So what you would learn to do is you'd kind of hedge closer to Adam Scott, what he does.
Okay.
So he has a little more hip flexion for longer. Even though this is pushing up and extending the leg, the hip is holding flexion longer.
Okay.
And then this sternum is moving still into rotation, but not as much extension. So it's staying a little like more connected to the two. It's a little bit intricate. I'll give you some drills for that later. But let's just see what transpires because this is quite good. Other than the fact that the head is forward. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is kind of the problem. So the problem is at P5, your chest is in front of your pelvis.
It's not good.
Not ideal. So generally speaking, we don't want that to occur. And then downstream, we get to 5 to 6. Lower body needs to be more forward, and the head is a little forward. Okay, so that's an interesting situation. Okay,
Am I dumping it?
you have to.
That's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. Okay. So if the upper hub is too far forward, you're going to release the angles to get to it.
Yeah.
So players are either going to push vertically or they're going to release the angles out early. So you can't objectively have, if I was using like old school terminology, like trigger delay into the golf ball.
Yeah.
So one way to remedy this is increasing horizontal. So at the top, producing a lateral force. Okay, so like if I was like, okay, I'm going to leave your upper body alone for the time being, if I was going to do this correctly, and then I would just institute, because you got to play golf, more horizontal force. So you have a vertical force, you have rotational transverse, and you have a horizontal. So from the top, because your loading is okay, I would feel, because you're already going down, you're going down 1.5 inches, you're gonna push the lower center more forward, which would, i.e., keep the head in the same spot and create more right bend, which will allow you to get your angles more here. Now, not to get too complicated here, that would be the only input I gave you. In the long run, I would get this in a better spot at the top, okay? Because it just makes it easier. Because normally, like if you were here and you just push your hips forward, your head would go forward with it.
Because they're all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why your left wrist likes to extend. And then you're a little hyper rotated because your lower body's not forward. So like hyper rotation in the meaning of you use a lot of transverse. So do you hit pulls?
I do, and that's so good golf days.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Like good golf days, I think, well, looking at this, good golf days, I probably don't dump it as much.
Yeah.
And that rotation and centering is probably a little bit more consistent than bad days.
Yeah.
On bad days, it's the pull, and then the playing golf, the compensation of that pull, which means I'm missing it both ways, which is just not a fun day.
Yeah. Okay. So because you're a serious golfer, it's not like just give me some feel so I can play. You can go down 2 different roads here. You can do that, but in my opinion, it's like why not work on the 2? So if I institute the first piece, the second piece has less resistance in doing it.
Okay.
What you're doing now at the top, which look, in the whole scheme of things, if you were a regular golfer, like if you were like, I don't know, a 20 handicapper, you're fine. You can play from there.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be like a sub-0, not a good idea, because you're never going to line that up properly. If your head's over here, unless you're going to hit it 4 feet off the ground, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So let's set up. We're going to go and go into this.
Okay.
Okay, so your lateral on the backswing is really, really good. Okay. So it's not too long.
Okay.
You get pressure into your trail side. You're only like half an inch right. It's kind of perfect. It's kind of like a fine line. It's like you don't want to be in your demographic, and I'm not trying to dismiss other patterns, but you're kind of ideal there. Okay. So like you don't need to work on being centered or anything. Okay. What I would feel is right around lead arm parallel on your backswing.
Yeah.
I want you to feel that the sternum is moving more to the right in forward bend a little bit. Okay. Just the rib cage itself. And what that should do, it should reduce the left bend that you're putting into your backswing.
Okay. So maybe in terms of feel, there's a little bit more stretch.
Stretch through
on
the left
this
lat.
Side.
Yeah, left flat's going to stretch.
So
yeah,
kind of like that.
Yep.
Okay.
And then what should occur, this should actually make it easier for the extremities, especially your arms would look closer together.
Okay.
So just because this is being videoed, I'm going to cover my ass a little bit.
Yeah.
So if I have too much left side bend relative to normal, which could be varying degrees, if I'm too much this way, I lose rotation to the right.
Yeah.
So where do I get it? I get it through thoracic extension.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Which is a form of rotation or lift. So if I do that, especially for me because I'm on the heavier side, I don't have the ability to keep my elbows together. So if I have more left bend and extension, my elbows pull apart. Right? So I lose that width. So when you come down, there's no chance of me getting that back. Okay. So let's go and do this. So let's set up. We're just going to make that little cue.
Okay. So it's here and then, so a little bit more bend. And then for me, it almost feels like I'm fanning it. Like I am just like kind of opening it, opening.
So you probably feel in the lead arm more pronation.
Yes.
So if you looked at Victor Hovland, okay, there's 2 eras of Victor. So original era of Victor, he had more side bend at the right, about 16 degrees. And then on the backswing, he kept forward bend longer because his left arm was more in front of him.
Yeah.
Being as such, that's going to rotate that arm.
Yeah.
And it'll appear as there's more pronation in the lead arm, which will look more this way. That's why he can go into flexion.
Is that also like a Minwoo thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, Minwoo does the same.
He's up and that way?
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay.
Let's have fun with it.
Okay, so it feels, the load is fine, but more of a stretch.
Through the left lat.
Through left lat.
We'll just see what it does. We'll do a couple.
Okay.
Good. Start line was straighter. Keep going.
And then when I do this, should I feel, So the sequencing, basically the still push off, should I feel my hands are doing anything, or the pressure is it's just more, it feels like more, I'm making this move more?
We'll get into the arms and hands maybe later.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Okay.
I have an assumption that they're going to be better in front of you, but
Okay.
cool. Okay. Do like 3 more like that.
Okay.
I'm just going to process that. Pretty good.
Feels
Okay.
different, so we'd assume that's
It's
probably
better.
right.
It's better. Yeah, so now if you looked at this, it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Screen record. So now if we're just looking at lines here, this is the top. So the top is like when that club actually stops.
Okay.
So now your pelvis is at 0, which is good. So that didn't change. That didn't change. Your rotation is 2 degrees more than the last one. Okay.
Wow.
Your chest sway is 0.7 to the right instead of forward. Your head sway is good, and then your bend is better. It's 48 went to 47.
Okay.
Now, even though this pelvis lift says it's fine,
Yeah.
0.7, your chest lift is positive 2.
Okay.
So like the extension that you took is now gone.
Mm.
Now, so if you looked at like long drive, okay, which is going to be out of range on just about everything here, and Kyle Berkshire being one of them. So Kyle gets his range of motion because he keeps forward bend for a very, very, very long time till he gets to in range, and then it goes into thoracic extension. So the idea is if for you weren't doing that, you were getting to like P3 and then kicking extension and losing range of motion to the right. So and this is kind of a delicate thing, because do you need extension in a golf swing? Of course you do. I'm not saying get rid of it, but when you do, it's important because it's going to affect the pattern the arms take. Now, if your pattern in your golf swing is such that you need to do that, then fine, but you don't need to do that.
Okay.
So that looks good. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is did you have more horizontal? Now, to me, your pelvis is still going into some form of extension. So it's still rising, okay? And your lower body is not forward enough. Good. So that's the second input. Everything else is good. Your head's good, chest good, pelvis is good. The head's not back, it's centered. The hips just need to go more forward through the transition.
Okay.
And I did notice one of those balls was a block.
Yes.
So this should help you institute more right bend and move the path more right. So let's do it again.
So is that also a feel that I could input? Is that feel that I block it?
Yeah, that you go into some amount of hip sway.
Okay. So this part is good.
And then you're going to push like through the transition. This is what's interesting.
Okay.
Because you're doing this through kinetics, okay? Kinetics being you're doing this through forces and torques. You're trying to change your golf swing geometry through the use of forces and torques. If you don't do that, it just takes longer, because don't do it the way how I used to do it, which was like trying to hit a bunch of positions.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden you pull the athlete out.
Yeah.
So you try to go, okay, what's the timing mechanism for this? So for you, when you get to about lead arm parallel and you do this left lat move this way, feel your pelvis go down and actually push earlier off the right foot, laterally close towards the left foot.
So here.
Yeah. Now, if you overdo it, fine. I don't care.
But that's basically this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, good lesson. That was it.
That
Good.
was it?
That was it. Okay, so, and then we can talk about extremities and stuff like that. So I think the big point is if things aren't in the right spot, don't attach yourself to wrist angles, elbow angles, all those things until you've got the centers ideal. It's like you want to work distally out.
Right.
Now that if you feel like, oh, I have no control, and that, like, to me, I'm aware of what the face and the hands do at all times. So I'm not saying don't do that.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in position to do it, why would I try to work so hard? So let's just do it this way. Okay, go here. I think that's recording. It is. Okay. So same input going back. So 0, 0, 0.
Okay.
Head's a little forward. Okay. Bend's okay, down 1.2. Chest bend a little extended. That's what's kicking your head over there.
Okay.
So in the gym, just kind of know that this doesn't need to keep going up. Okay. Try to keep a little more connection there. And then you're pushing laterally. And there you go. Better. You could go more. And don't try to spin transverse wise.
Yeah.
Could be more.
Yeah, I think
but see how the wrist angles are better.
That's an old habit. So basically, the more that I feel that that's shut and right, that's probably better than trying to kind of spin it out, right?
Yeah, because like, okay, so let's think about this from like let's try to think, good job, Dana. Let's try to think about this from like the right brain compartment.
Okay.
So it's pretty obvious that Amazon, I need to order another tripod.
Amazon, we gotta get him another tripod.
That's pretty obvious. I go through these like crazy. Okay.
Oh, G-Pod, we gotta get Dana another tripod.
Yeah. So let's talk about rotation, because like the internet is like laden with information. Oh, bro, you need more rotation.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's just like, all right, like you have plenty.
You hit it farther and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Internet lives.
So the reality is that most of that force is coming through frontal plane torque.
Yeah.
More vertical force. So if I'm spun out and I'm this way to some varying degree, where the hips and the rib cage are kind of more together, and I'm applying a vertical force, I'm going to dump the club into the ball.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. No. And objectively, I would say if you look at most junior golfers, most like high-end junior golfers, they're more like Xander. Okay. So they're more, when they rotate, they go down and forward. They're a little heavy on the horizontal. They're less heavy on the rotational, okay? I'm not talking about the guys that get underneath and dumped, but I'm talking like the ones that are extremely good. And then they push more vertical and they create more side bend. So this is why like now you see a lot more guys like Sam Burns type looking swings, and
where it's kind of like that.
A little more that way. Yeah, and I'm not saying you need to go to, a crazy amount of it, but just some amount's okay.
Okay.
So for you, you need kind of more of that Rory Xander feel,
where
you go to the top and your lower center is going down, forward, and close longer.
Okay.
So you create more separation, and then you can push through it. Okay. So let's just do that, and then I'm going to show you the encompassing wrist angles.
Okay. And then in terms of like speed, because that's always in the front of everyone's mind.
Yeah.
My speed piece where I start lacking is because I create that thoracic up. I'd never really complete the backswing to get it to that efficient point, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So like your feel, go ahead and that, and then down, that lateral, good. So then this feels higher, this feels lower, this feels like you can rip this thing down, right? Now push your left leg straight and butt under that way. See that? So you're pushing the wheel more this way.
Okay.
And that's the Ferris wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and then you can actually close the face down.
Naturally with rotation and not trying to time it.
Awareness that this is turning down.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well.
And that's kind of your gig. And then keep trying to push the lateral so the bottom's good.
Okay.
Welcome to Kikuyu grass, by the way.
My favorite. So
there.
when I push, so typically, I think the feel of me pushing this way, it was kind of this move here.
Yeah, that's
Is it
fine.
okay to still feel
Yeah.
that?
I would rather you feel like everything's working this way.
Like that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that will carry your head forward with it, but it won't be stacked this way.
Okay.
We'll throw that one out, but do it again. Do one smooth.
Okay.
So because you're kind of, gets complex here.
Okay.
So it's there, lateral, and side bend, turn it down. There you go.
Closer.
Turn it, wait. I want you like early, this is this way.
Okay. Yeah, those last two, I didn't turn it. I'm just kind
No,
of
no,
I'm just holding it.
Hold, yeah, don't hold it.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, hello, ball flight.
That was a little thin, but that was it.
See how it's like a bullet?
Yeah.
Okay, do that again.
I didn't snap hook it left either.
No. Well, that's what you get worried of, because your other pattern, if you actually turn the loft down,
It's left.
it's left.
It's left, yeah.
Same thing, lateral, that. Yep.
Oh.
Decent. I mean, that was nice. Let's try to do one a little slower and more overdone on the wrist angles.
Okay. So go back.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Come on.
We're going. Subconsciously.
I know, it's okay.
Okay.
Feel like you're trying to hook it with the face as you do that.
Okay.
Slow. There you go. Okay, so that's your MO.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just make sure this thing goes. There we go.
Like through impact, subconsciously, my body was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Yeah, well, because you had to square the face with your rotation.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a topic that's thrown around. It's like, well, you need to square the face with your rotation. But if your face is like open and dumped, or casted if you want to call, and your head is forward, and you rotate, you're literally hitting, like, that's how you hit a flop shot. Like, if I hit a flop shot, where's my body? This is in front of this.
Yeah.
Right? So then this is opening and I'm throwing it out. That's effectively what you're doing. You're just doing it at a high rate of speed. So if I want to increase the ball speed, I need to like de-loft the club. So if you look here, so we'll just run an assumption that everything was good up there.
Okay.
So a little forward.
A little bit.
Head was a little, so that's your priority.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to keep working on that.
Okay.
But the input was lateral. See that?
Yeah.
Pelvis is 5 inches forward. Chest is 3 inches forward. Head is 2 inches forward. And then more side bend. So see how the handle is now head.
But in terms where everything's at, that's the right.
That's the right picture.
That's the right. Okay.
Now, then you can start thinking about rotation. Because the reality is, okay, let me be fair here. So through the transition, your body goes down.
Yeah.
It goes forward. It creates a separation phase, which is like TPI would call it X factor stretch. Okay. So your X factor stretch is kind of like your shoulder gain. So your shoulder actually keeps going, or your rib cage keeps going back as this starts to square. So if you looked at like Tommy Fleetwood, even though he stands there and does arms down and all that kind of stuff, he doesn't even do it. Like if you look at him, his hips go whoop immediately, but he's going down and left. Now, that doesn't mean he's spinning. It just means he's going down and left, and there's a rebound going on. So let's just assume that you took the right rebound. Well, once you get through about here in your swing, to here in your swing, your left leg, because it's forward as far as it's going to be, and if you had good separation, your left leg is going to start extending. Instead of it trying to go like this, it'll be separated and it'll extend, and then the right hip will get to the target. So, and that's starting to happen because you already do that in your swing.
That's different too. So that extension in terms of basically this, when I go like this, basically now I can, when it gets there, I can fire this kind of as hard as I want as long as it goes that way.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. You probably, if I had you on, like, I have gas plates, but if I had you on my gas plates, generally speaking, you can push in 3 directions. You can push up, you can push back, you can push away. Well, you already push away. You have a lot of what we call AP force, which is anterior to posterior push. And so like in 3D, that just appears to have more hip rotation, which is either good or bad depending on who I'm talking with. Okay, so this isn't a one size fits all. For you, you have a lot of that. So for you to go, which would be ideal, there first, where you go down and forward, this is closed a little longer, but then the impulse will actually go like that.
And that just continues as normal.
It just does, yeah. And then the other input is just your wrist. So let's do a few more. Let's try to do one more, and then I'm going to add kind of how I would put this to play on the golf course.
Okay.
Yep. Great. Now you're hitting draws. Okay, so very good. So let's talk about the golf course for a minute. I think this is like the final piece.
Okay.
So most golfers don't know how to practice. The big thing that I get is I effectively, hopefully, give an effective lesson that identifies what the issue is, and then here's how you fix it. One of the things that I've probably been guilty of for most of my career was not allowing there being a road to take on the golf course. Okay, and I'm just being transparent on that. And most of us are not very good at that because we don't see how a player reacts on the golf course. Like as soon as you leave here, you might have your best hat on and the whole 9, and you go out there and it's like, wee, like, it's like, wow, you're a completely different human being. So that could be the case.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run an assumption that you're normal, okay, which I think you are.
Fair assumption. Sometimes.
Maybe. And you have to run the right process before you hit. So I would be highly judgmental of the process.
Okay.
Now, what do I mean by that? So when I have a ball here, so let's kind of show you. So let's say we have a ball here, and then you're going to come back here. And you want to do it about 3 steps behind the ball. You don't want to do it like 25.
Okay.
This is like your zone, okay? And you can join me because we're going to do this together.
Okay.
And you're going to run a picture
Okay.
of the perfect shot you've ever hit.
Okay.
Now, first thing that does is it occupies your brain with a better thought.
Okay.
Because when people golf, they have a bunch of stuff coming in. It's like, why'd I eat that cruller donut on 15? Like this bad info starts coming in. This gives you like your best step. So the best step is like, okay, I have a picture of this 7-iron flighted. It's going to fly 160 to the middle of the green, and it's going to release 15 feet to the back pin. Sounds good? Like something like that. Because we're playing on Poana and it's really soft. Fair? So I have that picture. Then I have to now rewrite, what does that feel like? So the rewrite is, okay, well, what have I been working on? I've been working on this, feeling less tilt, this a little forward bend, that's the feel, and then a little more lateral and closed with the wrist turning down. And then over time, if you consistently keep doing that, and you can film this, but if you go on the course and you do that for 18 holes, you have a well better chance of changing your swing in the long run than going to the 3rd hole and going, well, I'm going to do what I used to do, right? And then trying to go to the range and fix it. Well, now you just got further away. Okay. And then you call me for a lesson. I'm like, bro, like you got to work on the same stuff. Like, what are you doing, right? So, but that's where people kind of go wrong. Now, pros tell me what you need me to do, and I just do it. Okay. And they just do it. Good, bad, or indifferent. It might take 3 months for them to make the change, but they buy into it, and then they commit to that feel. That's the big thing. When you're standing behind a ball and you're like, oh, this is the shot, that's what it looks like, this is the feel, I'm going to 100% commit to it even if I shank it.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're going to do that.
Okay.
Best foot forward, the best you can.
Okay. Same pre-shot routine, right? So I'm just picturing the shot I'm going to hit and then just committing to all the things that we were doing earlier.
Yeah, and then you're going to demonstrate to yourself what that swing feels like.
Okay.
And then reproduce it here.
Okay. And this is feel, right? I'm trying to feel this shot versus trying to find the position.
Yeah, you're not trying to find, you're just trying to feel a generality of it.
Okay.
Money. And then, because you want your grouping of thoughts to always be in a positive frame.
Yeah.
So guys aren't good at this. Like, I know tour players over the years that aren't good at this either. Like, there's some that and then they defend their narrative that they are okay. It's like, no, you're not, because I can see it. This is like monitoring your behavior. So it's pretty simplistic over time. If you did this for 3 months, like, I'm doing this, 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 and this, and that's it. And you just own it. It's only going to get better. It's like if you and I went to Japan and we go to like an art gallery, and you know the whole idea of the circle, like trying to perfect the circle, like you're just honing that.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. So it keeps you kind of in the zone. What messes up the circle is like if you're agitated. It's like, I'm going to go drink 5 cups of coffee and then try to do it. Things are going to be jagged edges.
Yeah.
So we want that to be consistent. If that happens, then you can actually go, oh, I have confidence in going to the golf course and doing the same thing. Now what's next at some point? But if that feedback loop doesn't happen, none of this works.
For sure. And then that would probably be kind of the similar approach if like you were just starting golf, right? Like you just go to the range, you're just pounding, but you're not trying to feel that you would feel on the course. Yeah. So then when you're on the course, you've never actually really practiced it.
This is why kids are really good. Because you tell a kid what to do, and if they have any interest in golf, so if you're a parent and you have kids, you're like, hey, I want to get my kids into golf, and you tell them what to do, and they don't do it, and then you tell them again, they don't do it. It's like, well, your son's not asking you for advice.
Yeah.
Like if your son has interest in it because it's fun, and then okay, Dad, how do I hold the club? You show them, and then they're just gonna buy in. They're gonna be like. They're going to buy in, even if they're 6. Like, it won't be perfect, but like, hey, am I holding it right, Dad? Like, it's going to interject itself over time. That's why kids get good golf swings very quickly. Because they're not, over the age of 20 and laden with like issues. And so, all right, let's do a couple more like that. Okay. That was good.
Yeah, so feel-wise, just trying to feel that, actually that just move in the body, not feeling where the club is at. And then same old stuff, just where's the target, and then just trying to react.
That's pure. Nice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the recipe. So like you're looking at it from 2 sides. So you look at it from, let's say, the golf swing mechanics, depending what lingo you want to call it, biomechanics or whatever. Okay, fair. You look at it from that frame and go, okay, what am I producing within that box? Okay, what needs to be changed within that box? Okay, cool, I know what those things are. Then there's the how, and those hows can be a little fluid, right? You can go in a mirror and do it. You can hit off-speed shots and do it. You can go to the gym and do it. You can think about it while you're blow drying your hair. I don't care. Like, the brain is interesting that way, where it's learning when you don't think you're learning, okay? It's running an image. Those things change things. And then it's like application time. So application time isn't just cold stone, step up and hit. It's picture, feel, reaction, hit. And you get that feedback loop going. And then you got it. It's pretty easy.
And then whatever happens that just happens. Just keep going through that same cycle, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of what you need to do. Let's talk about your scoring and everything for a minute. Like, what I didn't even ask, just because you're setting stuff up and everything, but like, what does the scoring look like to you?
I feel that when the game is well on course, I think 130 and in is pretty decent. It doesn't happen a lot. I think the bigger thing is keeping the ball in play
Okay.
And now that we've gone through this, I get a bigger understanding of why that dispersion can happen so wildly. So when it's in play, I'm in a different mindset of like, okay, we can play. We're looking at birdie or aiming at targets and aiming at little sections. When it's not, can I chip it wherever this ends up?
Yeah. I mean, what does your practice look like then when you're hitting a ball? Is there some formula to it, or
on course?
no,
Or
just
in
like
here?
through your practice? Like,
Yeah.
how do you skill build?
Through the yardage and basically through targets. So if I was here wedge-wise, like, can I land it between the white flag and one of those yellow posts? Where does it land? We've gotten some tech where it tells me actually now what's carry, what's yardage, where's that going? So that implementation's been helpful in terms of hitting golf balls on the range. So more of targets and specific targets in terms of carry, and like alleyways that I need to hit it into because I know I struggle with that on course.
Okay, good. I mean, that sounds good. Do you use any stats programs like Circles, Decade, anything like that?
I've used Decade before. I haven't recently, just in terms of like keeping like fairways, greens, and putts like during the round.
Or like Arcos, or
No, not yet.
The interesting thing with that is it's kind of it's a good way to stimulate feedback of what actually is going on without you defending it.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, you know, we're all humans and we like doing things that we're really good at. Okay. So I don't care if you're one of the best players in the world. If you're really good at hitting your 5-iron, you're probably going to hit that a little more often than you would on a club that you don't like.
Sure.
So, but getting at least some feedback of numbers, at least some data analytics.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm actually pretty good from 60 to 130, but from 130 to 150, I kind of miss it more left of the target, right? And then you can go about changing it how you want. Like you could go, okay, well, my ball position's too far forward, or you know, the lie angles need to change on these clubs. I don't know. Like, it's a little discoverable, and that's a lot of guys deal with it differently. And to be fair, like sometimes, you know, it goes right back to, well, if you think you made a change and you can commit to it, and does it actually change the number, then sweet, like you're on the right track. But don't just do it just to do it because you feel like it.
Correct.
You know, because that might send you back 6 months. So that's what I really like about the era we live in, is you can kind of go, instead of me trying to be omnipotent and trying to act smart, which, you know, I'm just a freaking range rat. Like I want to look at some data that actually proves like a good argument. Like, okay, this is a good argument to take or a good stance to take in going forward in this direction, instead of my anecdotal opinion that I've had for 15 years that might be wrong, because it's better to have a collective than just an individual. So that's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what about like your tee shots? You said you had some big misses. I'm assuming that's a tee shot error.
It's user error, and it's definitely user error.
You need to start blaming the club.
It's definitely. I mean, we're just gonna be should be transparent.
Yeah.
It's so on course. Good days, it's a slight right miss.
Okay.
Bad days, it's both ways.
Okay.
And it's both ways to where I know one hole it goes left, and then I overcorrect on the next hole, it goes right, and now I need to now I've calibrated. Now that's where I live.
Yeah.
The default is I pick out a driving iron, and I don't care if I'm 180 out.
Yeah.
I'll play that versus 100 from I don't know where.
Yeah. So I think based off what you're trying to do in your swing with more right bend, more hip a little more forward, and more face closed down.
Yeah.
The chance of you hitting a right ball that curves to the right is diminished, and you hitting a pull is diminished. You might hit an overdraw.
Yeah.
But everything kind of flies out the cone, starting a little more right and biasly curving to the left. So I don't think outlying push cuts are going to be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
At least not long term. But then on the flip side, it's like some of your practice, you need to hit driver in places you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Just to kind of build confidence that you can.
Definitely.
That's how you flip narratives.
Well,
so
I'll come out here and hit it from the red.
Yeah, that's a good way.
And then try to find it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So I'll do that where it's kind of forced, where you're not supposed to hit it there.
Yeah.
And you basically go hit it and try to make it happen. So we'll definitely do that. But yeah, that's interesting. Just in terms of that pattern, because on course I'll actually shape it. Like I'll want to hit a cut and a draw, and I think I've created a pattern where now I do that with my hands.
Yeah.
In a non-consistent way. Or
you don't need to hit it 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Just hit it one way. Like people think, oh, well, Tiger Woods. I go, yeah, you're talking about the best player that ever lived. He's able to do that, but he generally hits 90% of his shots one way. Historically, that might change a little bit through default or swing changes, but he doesn't step up on a tee and shape one this way, shape one this way, shape. He's just the same shot every time. And then he just has the ability, oh, the pin's on the right, I'm going to cut one in there, or the pin's on the left and it's forward, I'm going to launch one up there. But he also misses on the right side of the pin. So it's like, he's not a good giveaway of you're not capable of doing it is if you short side yourself a bunch of times. So yeah.
And this pattern is basically a slight pull, or basically that kind of straight cut.
Your pattern?
Yeah, in terms of like
what you're hitting right now?
Yeah.
Pretty straight.
Just pretty straight?
Yeah,
neutral?
pretty straight.
Okay.
Lower launching, pretty straight. Irons might draw
a
little bit because of the down, and then the driver will be pretty straight.
Okay.
Yeah. Want to hit a couple more?
Yeah.
Okay. And just kind of talk me through this shot.
All right. So here, that yellow flag is kind of target. Well, between that yellow and the closest striped one. And then through here, I just want to feel a little bit of tension on this left side, and just trust that my hands are going to release as we've practiced.
Good job.